Welcome to the Virtual Strategic Solutions Virtual Reality Simulation System. Accessing Legacy Dataset. Files loaded, simulation ready. Mirelurks have the dubious distinction of being one of the first radioactive mutants to emerge into the world, as a result of widespread radioactive pollution of the environment by United States megacorporations such as Poseidon Energy and General Atomics. Environmental organizations such as the Nahant Oceanological Society, dedicated to saving the oceans, attempted a variety of last-ditch efforts to raise awareness of this problem and encourage radical action to curtail environmental destruction at the hands of reckless corporations. However, their efforts were in vain. Ignored by authorities to the point where they refused to even take their phone calls, as was the case with the Boston Port Authority, they attempted to garner attention by reporting the situation to the Galaxy News Network. The media ignored their reports as well, except for running a story about the upcoming shellfish season and how great it was going to be. Of course, it neglected to mention that the average increase in mass on the order of 14% in crabs and 12% in lobsters meant that the available food supply would run out quickly, leading to colony collapse and localized extinction. Although the Great War ended corporate pollution, it was replaced by overwhelming amounts of nuclear fallout instead. In the ensuing melting pot of mutations, the modern Mirelurks emerged. Attempts to classify the resulting creatures have proven difficult. The crab Mirelurk, for example, contains multiple phylum markers from two distinct and unrelated species: the Atlantic horseshoe crab, Limulus polyphemus, and the Atlantic blue crab, Calinectis sapidus. As such, it would be necessary to catalogue it as simultaneously belonging to the crustaceous Chelicerata subphylums with the simultaneous classification of two distinct classes, Merostomata and Malacostraca. Both an Enclave researcher and the Lone Wanderer assigned it its own classification, Scylla serrata horrendus. This groups Mirelurks into the genus Scylla, referring to a Greek sea monster, and the species Serrata, serrata being Latin for forming a row of small sharp projections resembling the teeth of a saw. The last part, horrendus, Latin for dreadful, is the subspecies. The knowledge that Mirelurks were much smaller before the bombs dropped and mutated them still persists among some wastelanders in the Commonwealth. Mirelurks are also known to have a pronounced sensitivity towards white noise, as seen in Vault 92 and on Spectacle Island. Although Mirelurks tend to inhabit polluted rivers, coastal waters and sewers, their meat is considered a delicacy among wastelanders, despite having the texture of vulcanized rubber. Mirelurk hunters or herders can count on a steady demand for their meat and make a high profit selling it to wasteland traders. However, the size of the meat market means competition is stiff and suppliers can be targeted by rivals attempting to knock them out of the market, sometimes literally. They also grow remarkably fast, requiring just a few weeks for them to reach maturity. If corralled and domesticated, Mirelurks can be a flexible supply of food. The Free States did, in fact, entertain such an option. Mirelurks can also be a blight on permanent settlements, as is the case with Rivet City. Mirelurks nesting below inhabited decks are a continued nuisance for denizens of the city, despite regular extermination operations by the city's security team. Infestations are made even worse by the fact that Mirelurks have adapted to lay their eggs in multiple small nests throughout shallow water, unlike pre-war crustaceans that adhered their eggs to their body. If disturbed, the larval Mirelurks within exhibit incredibly predaceous behavior and are ready to attack if need be. The social structure of Mirelurk species resembles a caste system, with intelligent Mirelurk kings and the giant Mirelurk queens at the top. Their most noticeable feature is the large chitinous shell that provides excellent resistance to firearms, melee weapons, and even ray guns. Soft body parts, such as their faces and sections of their abdomen, are much less resistant. Other animals tend to avoid Mirelurks, perhaps instinctively realizing the danger posed by the shell. When hunting, Mirelurks rely on their extraordinary sense of smell, with their poor eyesight a secondary aid. They catch their prey with their primary large claws. Once immobilized, abdominal claws strip the helpless prey as it is consumed down to the bone within minutes. Although they lack the protection of their crab cousins, Lobster Mirelurks make up for it with their more powerful melee strikes and the ability to spit corrosive acid at targets. Mirelurk kings have distinct adaptations to its water-rich environment, with pronounced webbed extremities and numerous fins all over its body. Their coloration is also red, rather than the typical blue, and possess a defining crowned and mantle appearance. They also have the ability to cloak themselves in order to ambush unsuspecting prey. They also uniquely possess both gills and lungs that were developed independently, allowing kings to survive on both land and water easily. Mirelurk kings appear humanoid in shape, but have evolved from radiation and are distinctly non-sapien in their evolution. The upper and lower fins developed into jointed claws that can grab or slash, as well as flex 180 degrees. The evolutionary line of the Mirelurk kings is completely separate from the crab-based Mirelurks. Having developed independently, the intelligence of Mirelurk kings is much higher than crab Mirelurks, and a symbiotic relationship formed from Mirelurk kings, where they developed an ability to control the less intelligent Mirelurks. The reptilian Mirelurk kings, standing upright on 2 feet, are the most human-like of the Mirelurks. They have a symbiotic relationship with the other Mirelurk types and commonly employ ranged attacks. The Mirelurk king lacks the characteristic shell of other Mirelurk variants, but makes up for it with their thick, leathery skin, powerful arms and legs, and the ability to shriek at their attackers. This sonic attack is particularly dangerous against unaware or weakened targets. The Swamplurk queen, found in Point Lookout, is highly adapted to its swampy environment. It is coated in a layer of algae, which provides a degree of natural camouflage, and has the ability to spit corrosive radioactive acid at its prey. Endemic to Lake Mead and the Colorado River is the lakelurk. They have a distinct green coloration and the usual sonic attack. The Mirelurk queen is a towering, heavily mutated variant of the basic species. She is significantly taller than her standard counterparts, and she maintains features from both Mirelurks and hunters, such as the classic lobster-esque tail and the chishous shell on the top, to protect her from incoming damage. They are often spotted close to rivers, lakes, or the seaside, where they lay their eggs, and are extremely territorial, aggressive, and protective of their spawn, which they can also prematurely release from their abdomens to harass incoming threats in dire circumstances. They are extremely resilient and can withstand prolonged damage to a great deal of their body, bar a few vulnerable areas. Their 8 powerful legs allow them to push their weight forward, gaining speed before an attack, and air claws have mutated into scythe-like arms. Furthermore, they also produce a highly corrosive acid that they can spray out with great velocity. This acid is capable of causing damage through all available armor types. Hatchlings are the collective term for Mirelurk young. Mirelurks lay eggs, often in a well-protected nest. Occasionally, when a nest is disturbed, eggs will hatch in response to the stimuli. Hatchlings are easy to dispatch by a competent individual, providing the swarm isn't large. At this stage, their shells are soft, and they are around the size of a radroach. The Nuka-lurk is a Mirelurk hunter variation is indigenous to the Nuka-cola plant. They are uniquely colored, possessing a dark blue exoskeleton stippled with glowing blue features along certain regions of their bodies. This coloration is likely due to prolonged exposure and/or consumption of the radioactive strontium isotope that was used to color Nuka-cola Quantum before the Great War. Nuka-lurks appear in both regular and hunter versions, similar to their Mirelurk cousins, yet the difference is purely aesthetic. Their meat is notable for a small boost in AP, a reflection of the effects of Nuka-cola Quantum, in addition to radiation and hit points. However, only 10 Nuka-lurks appear in the game, limiting the amount of meat available to no more than 10, as they do not respawn.